Hello everybody, it's Andy here from AM Media Games, and in this video I'm going to go over some blueprints, some of the nodes I'm going to select at random, and I'm just going to try and explain them the best I can. Now, so I'm going to go open up the level blueprint, and we'll go over the first two, which are these ones here. So, let's discuss the event begin play. So now, event begin play is going to enable you to launch code the moment your player loads into the game. There are some scenarios where it might break. If your player loads in faster than the code, you might not necessarily have it at the same time or in real time. Sometimes there could be a bit of a delay, like a bit of lag. But the event begin play, basically, this node will enable you to launch. So if we add a custom event, and we now have an event where we can call other code off. If we look at our event graph top left, we can access this custom event. So let's name this one tutorial. So we can see here we have our tutorial event. Excuse me. And if we drag this into the scene, we have an instance of this that we can then call at the start of the game. So we could add a delay node, and the delay basically gives us the ability to delay our code in the sense of a time value. So we could do off of the input, we could do a random float in range, and this is going to give us an A and a B factor. So we've got this minimum amount to the maximum amount. So if we set this a minimum of 3, then this delay will have no choice but to be at least 3 seconds or more. So if we set this one to 10, it has to be a minimum of 3-second wait, but any value in between 3 and 10. So it could be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, or 10. So it'll have to wait either 3 seconds or any value in between these two to a maximum of 10 seconds. If we connect that up on the event begin play, we now have on game start, and then we can launch our tutorial code, and then whatever we have connected to our custom event, this will then launch this code, which is this, after the delay that we set when we begin the game. So this could be music, it could be background audio, it could be a comet coming crashing down to earth. Anything that you want to set up at the beginning of the play. It could be an animation, it could be on-screen subtitles, sad music, scary music, ambient sounds, but this is how you could start that for event begin play. Now, this one, your event tick, this is going to play a function, event, a sound, or anything else every single frame. So if you're running the game at 120 frames per second, you don't really want the sound of birds playing every 120 times a second, because it won't be great for your ears. So the event tick, now these are my understandings of these nodes as I've learned through time. The event tick is going to basically play in real time 120 times per second if your frames per second is 120. Whatever event you have connected. So I don't recommend using this one for things like ambient sounds or anything that would be more of an event. I would use this one probably for some kind of a line trace system or something that needs real-time logic. So like maybe like a physics physics handle or something along them lines. I wouldn't necessarily use an event tick for anything that would be resource heavy, because the engine would have to call the event, if you're running at 60 FPS 60 times every second. That isn't good. So those aside, let's move on. We're going to get a flip-flop. Now, it has a funny name, but it also has a good use. So this one can be used for things like flashlights. You would have on and off. So what you could do, a good way to set up a flashlight in your first person or third person character, you would have an E key event or an F key. Let's go with F. So let's say in your first person character or third person character, whatever you're making, you have pressed F, and then you could, in your character BP, you could have a add custom event, and you could copy this twice, and then this one could be, let's name this one light off, and this one could be oops, there we go, this one could be light on. So what you could do with this one, let me just compile that. You've got your light off code and your light on code. So let's add a light to the scene. Oh, no. So up here we can add quick to the scene. Now let's do a spotlight. So this was the player's flashlight, and you add this component in. So the light on would be set visibility, light component, and then that would be on, like so. And then also you could add a sound. So let's do play sound at location, and then the sound would be your sound file for turning on the flashlight. And then you could do get world location out of this, and then that, let's swap these around. Then this would be your flashlight on code. Like so. So you've got that one, that one. Let's disconnect that. Let's copy that, pop that in there. So you have your very quick and easy turn flashlight on code. Light on, set visibility to true, excuse me, and you have your sound. Then all you would do for your light off code is copy this, and then set that there, set visibility to false, and then play sound. And then in here, on your press F command, light on, light off. You go, a simple flashlight code. It's not actually a tutorial about flashlight codes, but there you go. So you'd set this up in your first person character or your third person character, and then you have your light on command and then your light off command. I like doing it this way. There are other ways. You could just do the flip-flop without these, and then it would just go like this. If you set it up like this, then you could, if you're making a horror game, you could have the ghost, the entity, or the AI interact with the flashlight of the player a lot easier, because you could call maybe the light off code. If the player gets hit, you can call the light off code. Maybe it temporarily broke the flashlight, or if the creature gets too close, the light goes off. So you could call this command and it would run this code. But that's just a way to set that up. So you got a flip flop. This will do action A, and then it will flip flop, and then it'll do action B. It'll do action A, action B. Another node you've got is a sequence. A sequence you could connect out of anything really, as long as it's going somewhere and it has a value. So you could do a sequence out of this. So you could go like that, and you could also do it like this. And then what this would do basically would be, you've got press F, and then if it's A, then it'll do this code, and then at the same time it'll do another code. So you could, in theory, let's move this out of the way and this out of the way. This could be your flashlight code if you wanted, just like this, and have it like that. And then your sound could be out of then 1. So when it turns the light on, you're just going to play another piece of code at the same time, if that makes sense. So a sequence basically just plays the code from then 0 to then 1, and you can add multiple pins. So you could also play an animation as well. If you created an animation, you could play the animation out of the sequence. So that covers those ones. And then we're going to go for a do once node. Okay, so a do once, if we have an event that we only want to call once, like this, and let's say we want to call this again, but as a delay, so we could put a delay node at the end and set the value to maybe 5 seconds. If we want this to only happen once but not regularly, and we don't want it to be triggered too often, we could have control over how often this can be called by using a do once node, where we can then set a delay value out of the completed would go into reset, and this basically enables us to reset this value, so then we can then recall this command so the code can be fired off, and then whatever the event that you want to play, you'd then be able to play that again. If you didn't add the delay and you didn't reset this do once node, then you would basically only be able to play it once by its name, do once, and you wouldn't then be able to play this command or code again until it's reset. Excuse me. I hope that makes sense. So you've also got, let's have a look at some more nodes. We have let's try and think of another one. We'll call a gate. A gate will detect, so for this one we could do, let's go for our E key or our F key. Let's copy that, paste it there, disconnect that one. So in order for us to be able to use this, the gate needs to be open. So you can imagine like a dam. You've got the floodgates, and if they're closed, the water can't exit, and this is the water. So here's your water, here's your dam, and whether it's open or closed, and this will allow that water to pass through. So this will allow this code to fire as long as the gate is open. If the gate is closed, it can't do anything. So you could have, you could use this for things like doors. You can only press the key if you're close enough. I'm not really a fan of using trigger boxes for doors because it can cause overlap issues, and it can cause like unrealistic scenarios where you go to open a door that's close to it, your players overlapping both doors at the same time because the trigger boxes are too big, and you end up opening both doors and it just doesn't feel real. It kind of kills immersion. But yeah, so a gate is basically just, and you want to enter the code because it has an exit, but this code can only fire if it's open. So you do something along the lines of a trigger. So you'd search for a trigger, and with this trigger selected, we can right click and then do a collision overlap begin and a collision end. So you've got your end overlap going into open. You would do, let's do cast to first person character. You should go like this, and then you'd do the same for this one. So then you'd have your begin overlap, which basically means that your player is inside this trigger. The end overlap, which basically again means that your player is no longer inside. So to simulate that, I'll show you with a small sphere. So you have, this is your first person player. When they enter the trigger, it will be the begin overlap. It's detected the player. So is the player within that area? The cast tool will recognize if it is, and if it is, then you can call this code. If the player is left, no longer inside the trigger, then the end overlap is now triggered. The player is detected, it's cast to that player, the player is no longer in it, it knows it's not inside the trigger. So what you could do is you could get player controller, get player we'll do is get controller, but I'm thinking of something different probably. Disable input, there we go, is the one I was after. That's it. So we'll do that into there, wrong one, other way around, that into there, get player controller, that's it. So get player controller, we'll get the control keys for the player, and we'll disable the input if we're no longer in the gate. And then we'll do the same, we'll do enable input, and then that goes into there, that can go into there. So we have detect the player. If the player is inside the box, then we'll enable the import of the F key, and that would go into open. If the player is no longer in the box, we're going to close those floodgates. The water can no longer flow through because we're going to be closed. It's going to be this one. So the player is left, disable, close. The player is entered, allow that water through. The water can exit. So this is where you can call a command. So this could be like open door, pick up object, pick up a key off the floor. But try and not necessarily stay away from these, but try and learn other ways like line traces, blueprint interfaces. They work. This is my personal opinion. There's always going to be somebody that argues with me about it, but they just work a little bit better. They're a bit more immersive. You aim the camera or the cursor at the object that you want to interact with, rather than just standing in a generalized box to interact with it. And it just seems to work better, and it's just easier in the long run. So now that we've gone over all of these nodes, let's have a look at another one. We call it switch on int, and a switch on int can be used to call custom or random events. So you would create a custom event, like event begin play, for example, and then out of your event begin play, we're going to get let's do add custom event. Oops, that's not how you spell custom, Andy. Custom event. So this one's going to be, let's call this one ghost events, and this is going to be random integer in range, and we're going to connect that into here. No, we're not. We're going to get a delay, connect that into here, like so, and we're going to add a few pins. Okay, so I have done a video on this, but I'm going to quickly go over it anyway, and then I'm going to call the video quits, and I'll do another one of these with other nodes just for new people to help them out, to learn about them, and also what their uses are, or how to use them, or a use case scenario. So what we could do here with ghost event, we can pop that into our scene. We can add a delay. Let's do like this. So we have a delay here. So we're going to event begin play. I'm going to set our delay to 10 seconds. So 10 seconds into playing the level, the ghost events will start. The ghost events can be anything you want. You're just going to create them down here. So we're going to add custom event. I'm going to call this one ghost lights off. Oops, we're actually going to call that ghost lights off when we select it, ghost lights off. So let's say we want to call this custom event and we have some code, we have some lights in our world. We could do, let's delete this one and this one. Yes to all. Let's select our spotlight. So we have this spotlight on the ceiling. This could be code as well, like a blueprint actor, but we're just going to use that as a reference for the video. So if we want to get our ghost light off, we're going to go set visibility, set visibility, and this is going to be to off, like so, and that's going to be off. So how this would work is you want to call this event in our ghost events. So we're going to get ghost lights off. I'm going to set that to 0, and then this will call this event out of the switch on in. So it's going to pick a random value, so make sure we do 0, 1, 2, 3. So we're going to go 3, so it'll be between 0 and 3, and out of this we're going to get a delay, and then out of our delay we're going to call ghost events. So we're going to go let's say 5 seconds or maybe 10. So how this will work is on event begin play, we're going to have a 10-second delay, and then it's going to call this event here. Whenever this event plays, obviously your flow path, which is going to be your output here into the input, it's going to go through completed. It's going to pick a random value from this to play one of these ghost events or random events in your game, and then from once it's picked the ghost event, it's going to go through a delay of 10 seconds, and it's going to allow this event to happen again. So now that we've waited 10 seconds, this is going to fire off this code, which is basically this one. So this just repeats on a loop. So you'd have multiple, you'd probably need the lights on as well. You just can't keep calling lights off, but this is just a way to set it up. So out of this you could do play sound at location, and then the location could be your first person character if you wanted to. So you could do a variable, and then you could go to first person character, object reference, drag that into the scene, get world location, and then you'd want the first person camera just as a reference. It's just something that we can reference the sound to, and then we can pop that in there. So this will play the sound near the player's camera. So there's some ideas for you. I hope this helps some people that are new to Unreal. If you enjoy videos like this and you want me to go over some more nodes, little hints and tips, rather than doing full-blown tutorials, well, I'll probably still do them anyway, because I've got a lot of Blender stuff and Substance Painter lined up. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, help me out by hitting that like button. If you haven't already done so, subscribe. It really helps the channel. It's a free way to help me, because the more people that subscribe to the channel, then the algorithm goes up. More people see it, more people get help. So I really appreciate everybody for all of the kind comments. But yeah, if you want to chat to me, reach out to me over on Discord. I'm always willing to help people. So yeah, like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye for now. Take care.